Hi guys, in this video I'm going to attempt to do a tutorial on how to edit images in a photo editor that will allow you to create a scene for your mugs even if you have chosen mugs from the internet. So let me share my screen here so you guys can see what I'm doing and we will get started. So I'm learning all kinds of things about video software, image software, Canvas, all kinds of stuff just like you guys are, and I'm running across some challenges too, so bear with me if there are issues. I do apologize. Alright, so we're looking at pixlr.com. This is going to be the photo editor that we're going to use. It's fairly simple if you have any photo editing experience. It can be really easy, otherwise there's a little bit of a learning curve, but we're going to go through a couple things that should make it easier. So there's Pixlr X and there's Pixlr E. Most of the time we're going to use X. The E is a little bit more sophisticated software. If you have Photoshop experience, then I would say that, go ahead and jump into this one if you want to. But we're going to start with Pixlr X because it's a little bit more simple. So I'm going to go over here to create new, and I'm going to choose the size of my document. I'm going to go Web 1440. I don't want it to be too small, but I don't need a huge image either. So I'm going to come over here to create. All right, so this gives me my blank canvas and my layer 1. Layers are over here on the right-hand side, and it's a little bit different way of thinking about artwork because each element that you bring into your artwork is going to sit on a different layer, and they're going to operate differently. So you want to make sure that the layer you want is the one that's highlighted in blue. So over here on the left-hand side, you've got some icons. These are your tools. And we're going to go down here to the bottom. It says Add Image and Browse. And I'm going to browse my desktop for the images that I've already saved from the internet to make this video. So the first one is Wedding Altar, and that one is going to open up. I'm going to ask you, do you want to add the images as a layer in the current document or create a new one? I want to add it to the current document. So here's the Wedding Altar. Let's get that a little bit bigger, so we know what we're looking at here. And on the top right side, you're going to see Navigate. This red window is showing you essentially what you're looking at. So if I zoom in, you'll notice that the red window gets smaller, and I can shift it, and that will change what I'm looking at on the image. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out because I don't need it zoomed in right now. I need to go back over here to Browse and import my other images, which is going to be Mug 3. Going to add it to the current layer. I'm just going to throw it over here on the side. We'll come back to that in a minute. Browse, and bring in Mug 4. Add it to the current layer. Okay, so these are the only 3 elements that are going to put together into this document. But we do need to do some work on these mugs first before we get them into this background. I'm going to come back over here to the toolbar, and I'm going to choose the scissors, which is the cutout tool. It's going to give you a number of options: shape cutout, magic cutout, draw cutout, and the lasso cutout. The mode here, keep and remove, that's going to be really important too. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the shape cutout, and I'm going to leave it on a square, and the mode is keep. So what that's going to do is it's going to keep anything that is inside of the square that I am drawing right now. So that's a really quick way to get rid of all of that excess background that we don't need. If I want to remove what is inside my shape, let's come over here to the circle, and I'm going to draw the circle inside the handle so that I can get something close to the curvature of the handle. It's not going to be precise, but it's going to be close. And honestly, this is a great time to zoom way in and slide that red square right on top so that I can get better at getting right next to the handle. So this is going to be really the most time-consuming part of this work, because you're going to flip back and forth between tools that are going to take out chunks of your background and tools that are meant for much more fine-tuning work, like the draw cutout. So if you go to the draw, the brush here is going to show you a little red kind of circle thing there. Obviously your size can adjust it to be much bigger, or much smaller, and that's going to depend on your zoom level also. It can be sometimes easiest to just kind of put it up there against the line and click, but you can see how the edge is fuzzy, and right now I don't want the fuzzy edge, I want a nice clean edge. So I'm going to adjust the softness so that it is really precise. And you can see the difference when I do that. I'm working with a mouse, so it's a lot harder to just kind of like click down and then drag around that handle shape. You can do it, but it takes a lot of control, and the mouse is just not really that precise of a tool. So I generally find that I prefer to just edge it way up to the edge there and clean it out the best I can. Get that size down. Oop, I don't need it that small. That's better. Okay, I am not trying to make an hour-long tutorial, so this is going to be just kind of quick and dirty. And if you accidentally do something terrible like that, you can come down here to bottom where it says undo and put it right back up there. You can also do Control-Z on your keyboard, like lots and lots of other programs, and that will undo whatever your last action was as well. The lasso tool can be helpful if you've got a lot of control over what over your mouse or however you're doing this, because essentially you're just drawing an outline and you can make that whatever shape that you want and pull that big section out. That was a mess, but you get the idea. The magic cutout is sometimes really fantastic, but sometimes it's really problematic, and I'll show you what it does. You click it here, and wherever you click your crosshairs, it's going to choose anything that is that specific color, and it's going to eliminate it. So you can see that it pulls out a big section like that. So that's pretty good. Sometimes what's going to happen is that it will take out part of your highlight, because your highlight is bright white, and for what we're doing right now, we can't have that. So I'm going to come in down here and undo. But yeah, so you see it's pulling out anything that's that color in the mug itself, so I can't do that much. For some other images, it might work better, but for this one, it's just not gonna do what we need it to do. So again, this is just gonna be a really kind of clumsy version because I need to get on to showing you the other items and not spend too much time trying to make it perfect. You could really do this all day and still be finding places that you wanna work on. So I'm gonna zoom back out, come up here to my other mug, which I can't do anything to right now because this mug is the active layer. If you look over here on the layers, you've got layer 1, which was the original canvas, the wedding altar layer, mug 3 layer, and mug 4 layer, and mug 4 layer is the one that I have selected. So I'm going to click on mug 3 layer instead, and now this is the active mug, and I can zoom in, shift up, and we'll try the lasso tool on this. And I'll just get kind of close. Down around this handle. While I'm doing this, I'm gonna bring your attention to the light quality on this mug and the other one that I chose. They're both really kind of well lit, light colors that will lend themselves well to looking correct in the background image. Whoops, okay, so what happened there, over here on the left, you see where it says mode and remove. Anything within that lasso cutout is what's going to be removed. So, whoops, undo that. We're gonna go over here to keep and try that again. You'll notice that that dotted line is a different color, so that'll be a good hint as to which one you're working on. All right, so back to the lighting. Light colors, brightly lit, which matches the background. If I had a background like the sunset from the other example that I put into this project, you might not want to choose mugs that are brightly lit, light colors. They might look way out of place in terms of the lighting. Okay, aside from that little oops, that wasn't terrible. Let's get a circle cut out here. Oops, you know what? I'm keeping that though. So that's not going to do anything. Let's go back to remove. This part can take a lot of patience, so just heads up. And now I'm going to go to the draw cutout and try to get a little bit closer. If anybody's interested in Photoshop and altering images and creating images, this is going to be good practice for getting to know this software if you're not already familiar with it. It's a pretty decent software for being free, so I do encourage you to kind of play with it on your own. If you've got pictures of your pets or your siblings or something that you want to try your hand at altering. See, I just cut into the mug again. Crap. Okay. Oh well, you get the idea. All right, zooming back out. Now it's time to put the mugs into their place in the actual scene. So I'm going to X out of cutout because I don't need that tool anymore. I need the arrange tool, which is those little 4 arrows. That's going to allow me to drag it right down here into the altar area. That looks huge, and I don't have any room for my other mugs, so I'm going to grab the corner, shrink it down. That's a pretty intuitive control there. I don't want it to look like an actual mug because, you know, the whole point of this is that it's supposed to be set up for the mugs themselves. And bring it a little bit bigger and sit it down there. Okay. Now, if these 2 mugs are at a wedding ceremony, they're getting married to each other, then they're going to likely be facing each other. And right now they're facing the same direction. So I'm going to have to change from the basic version of the software to the professional version of the software to allow it to do this command. So I want you to follow my arrow up here to the top left. It says toggle home. You can see that this is the active project. Coming over here to Pixel RE, and now I'm going to choose that same project. And you'll see a little bit more expanded panel over here on the left-hand side of your tools. You're also going to see the toolbar up across the top, which will allow you some more specific controls. So I'm going to check my layer. My layer is set to the background, which is not what I want. So I can click here to select, make sure that that's highlighted. Actually, sorry, I need this one. Mug 4, and I'm going to edit down to free transform, and you'll see here gives you aspect ratio controls. It gives you some measurements here, some flip options. So remember in class when I talked about symmetry and a line of symmetry, up here is going to flip it left to right. This is going to flip it up to down. So you can see, do I want to apply the transformation? Yes. Oh, wait a minute, why didn't that work? There we go. Now it's upside down. It's flipped it over that axis. Upside down is not what I want though, so I'm going to go over here to flip horizontal. And now my handle's on the side that I want it to be on. Slide that one into place. Shrink it down to a size that's comparable to the other one. There we go. Still seems a little bit big, but it's just a height difference, I guess. And that's not too bad. So the other thing that you can do, and I'm not requiring this because it seems like there's a glitch in the software on creating shadows. I will show you how to create a shadow if you want to, but it's not necessarily going to look perfect because, like I said, there's an issue with the tool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this layer over here where it's highlighted. There's 3 dots. Click on those 3 dots and come down to the bottom. It's going to say duplicate layer. I'm going to click there, and you can slide it around just to make sure that you have actually duplicated the layer. Up to adjustment, and I'm going to choose brightness and contrast, and I'm going to bring the brightness all the way down. And you can experiment with the contrast if you want, but you don't want it to blow it out lighter, overexposed. You really want it to be dark. So there we go, that's pretty dark. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to come over to the 3 dots again on the layer. I'm going to choose transparency. If your transparency is 100%, then it's opaque. It looks like it's a solid object. I'm going to bring it down to about 50, and that gives it a nice kind of tracing paper look. Slide it over here, and you can see it's the exact same size and shape, just a darker version of it. So back to edit, free transform. Gonna flip it upside down. Yes, I do want to apply. And slide it down to the bottom. Can overlap it just a little bit, okay? So now it looks kind of like a reflection. If I want it to look like a shadow, I'm gonna go back up to edit and free transform again. It's gonna give you these rectangular bars, and then I can shrink it way down, squish it down, and place it a little bit better, okay? So this looks like there's a pretty strong light coming from back here, shining forward onto the mug, casting the shadow onto the aisle. The lighting for the rest of it is not consistent with that. You can't see the shadows of the chairs doing that. You don't see the shadow of the altar doing that. So this is not really correct. It's just kind of thrown in there for if you want. You can also play around with just, yeah, we'll keep that. You can also play around with just creating a shape. Oh, different shapes. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Oh, you know what? Let me show you this before I do this. Go back up to arrange. You see, notice that the arrange tool looks different when you're in this version. So just heads up. Okay, where that overlaps, I want this to happen behind the mug so that it doesn't make the bottom of the mug darker. So layer, I'm going to send backward. And it pushed it behind mug 4, but I don't think that was enough. So I'm gonna send it backward again. Oh, that's too far back. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so the actual mug is darker down there at the bottom. The point is that you want the mug layer to sit on top of the shadow layer so that it doesn't create a darkness at the bottom of the mug if there shouldn't be one. But that one's there, supposed to be there. All right, let's just go ahead and duplicate this one also so that I don't have a weird inconsistency going on with my shadows. Back up here to image adjustment, brightness and contrast. Brightness goes all the way down, contrast goes all the way up. Apply. Gonna lower that transparency to about half. Drag it back into place. Edit, free transform. Not really sure why it's asking me that question twice. That was a mistake. See, I had the wrong layer chosen, so you got to be careful as to what you're actually selecting. There we go. Image, edit, free transform again, and I'm going to squish it way down. It should be a little bit taller than the other mug though, because it's a little bit taller than the other mug. Okay, so now you can see that overlap. Where the shadow's sitting on top of the mug and it's looking kind of strange there. So I believe I can also drag this layer. There we go, done, okay. I'm also going to rename this layer because I don't like it being called mug3.jpg copy. I'm gonna call it mug3 shadow. And that makes a little bit more sense to me. And that's gonna be mug4 shadow. Zoom back out. Now you've got two mugs getting married. Is this a beautiful, perfect Photoshop job? Absolutely not. I am by no means a Photoshop professional. I'm very new at editing images like this. I'm just playing around and trying to give you an option if you chose to use images from the internet for your original mugs, which is fine. Might be just a little bit more work on this part, but it makes the actual project possible because you do need to have to set up a scene that illustrates the story that you've created for your mugs. So I'm going to just file save. I'll put it on my, what am I going to call this? Mugs wedding. I'm going to download it because this is all an online, I'm working online. Save image. Okay, it's down here. I can open it up later. I'm going to close here. And that is pretty much it. Just one last thing I'm going to remind you of is the toggle home button, which can take you back to the Pixel RX. You'll have to choose your project again, and that will give you the little bit more simplified tools over here if the other one is a little bit intimidating or confusing. Okay, so I hope this is helpful. Hope you guys are doing well and staying healthy. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to email me, send me a message in the inbox in Canvas, whatever you need, I'm happy to try and help. So have a good night.